Trend of social media catching up in the country. Do you think HR has a role in this social media, whether monitoring, recruitment, and other aspects? Because it just seems that people have a lot to share, which they just share using these tools. So, do you think HR should monitor them or use them in some way?
Yeah, so I would say it's got its positives. It's got a lot of positives. In fact, it could be used heavily for when you're doing recruitment, when you're doing reference checks. I think it's a great source of resourcing. And also the messages about the organization gets broadcast very quickly. So and there's no control over that, which is fine, because in a transparent business line, you need to walk the talk. You cannot resort to hiding measures. Even if one person knows about it, so what? So what I would say is that more than bothering about the social media, which would highlight issues in your organization, one needs to focus on the positives. So what we need to do, how do we fix our house, before we worry about the message getting spread. That's what I would say. And in one of my stints, we had one of the managers who was very, very harsh, and a lot of attrition in her function. The word spread like wildfire. Everybody knew that if it's this person, we don't even want to go for an interview. So that was very clear. So in that case, what do? You don't you can't complain about social media. You need to fix the person. You need to fix issues with that person, and hope things change. So it's good. It's good. I would say social media is very good.
I'm glad you think like this. I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this are happy to hear you telling like this. But let's take a step back and take you through some of your previous stints and some experience which you shared. I believe when you were working with Transocean, one of the challenges you said, or the learnings that you took from that stint, was how to manage a rapid growth. I believe you kind of recruited people for 27 rigs in a very short span of time.
I think 27 is a high number. We grew from about 2 rig operation to about 10 rigs, and in India at that time we had about 27 rigs all over. So almost and most of them would be with the public sector. So ONGC would have most of the rigs.
Can you just elaborate what is a rig because we understand organizations and people, but rigs is something which we are not so familiar with.
So Transocean is the world's largest drilling contractor, and what they have is a rig. A rig could be a jackup rig, it could be a semi-sub, or it could be a drill ship. Now, what is a rig? A rig is like a factory in the middle of a sea, and what it does is it drills for oil or gas. It actually makes a well in the middle of the sea, and it would be a pretty expensive affair to do that, to drill one well, and does that answer the question, or in terms of what a rig is?
Yes. So what I understand is it's like a factory right in the middle of the ocean, and so obviously people would be very specialized people required to manage that.
Yeah.
So the sudden jump and getting such a specialized skill in a short span of time, how did you make that happen?
Yeah. So it's a round the clock operation on the rig. So for any one job there will be 4 guys. One guy working 12 hours a shift, and when he sleeps, the other guy comes and works. So you have 2 guys, and there are 2 guys who are taking rest at home. So they do a 28-day shift. Then these 2 guys go back, and these 2 guys go back in. So that's how it works. So typically a rig would be consisting of about 100 people, a jackup rig, and getting people was very difficult. I was told one fine day that by the way, the ship carrying these two rigs, which were going to go to Dubai for some repairs, is going to come to India because we got a contract here. And I said, hello, what do you want me to do? He said, crew up in about a month's time. We should be ready to drill. And it was like and I had just joined the organization. So I put on my thinking hat. I said, unique situations, unique solutions. So what I did is, this is about 12 years back. I tied up with two companies, and subcontracted the whole thing. I said, give me 200 people. I will be involved in the final selection, but you give me these 200 people, and it was done. So so my country head, he started thinking that I can do miracles.
I'm sure. And a lot of other companies would have thought so as much.
Yeah. It was the kind of growth we saw there was phenomenal. I mean, it actually put us as a powerful organization in the whole global map. So it was pretty interesting.
And as we were discussing before, I believe some of the solutions that you did there also saved management a lot of money.
Sure.
Coming back to the financial hat.
Sure.
Could you just explain a little bit on what those solutions were and how did it save money?
Yeah, we had with those 10 rigs we had close to about 200 to 300 expatriates working here, and that was a huge cost in terms of their taxes, in terms of their travel, in terms of the culture. We had a lot of issues in terms of the cost was going up, and the people down below were not getting trained. So what we did is we said, let's get Indians in these roles. So what do we do? Where do we get these Indians? And because many of the rig workers would be in the Middle East, and many of them would not have reached those heights. So if I'm looking at a OIM, or a OIM is an offshore installation manager, or a tool pusher, getting those guys, getting Indian guys for those positions was very difficult. So what we did is we scouted for Indians working all over the world in Transocean, and requested, cajoled, incentivized, forced. We did everything to get them back, and then we would find a home for the expat who was displaced in some other location. So with those moves, we could displace about 53 expats, and that resulted in huge savings.
That's great. I'm sure some foreign exchange was also saved.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, in one of the experiences that you shared with us, you spoke about a startup experience. How different a startup experience is to a regular operations?
I think when things are all set, policies are set, everybody knows what they can do, what they cannot do. When everything is spelled out, it's a much more easier, going, as compared to when you are starting with a blank, sheet of paper. You have no idea what you want to do, what's going to be the next month's project plan. Nothing is there. That's what a startup was, when I took it up somewhere in the late 90s, and it was like crazy. We sometimes we didn't even have a working bench. So we used to operate from a hotel room, and resumes were spread on the floor, and we used to do the hiring. So it was crazy, but so again, as I said, if you are able to do that, then you can, if you are able to do startups, then you can do wonders in any organization.
Did you also face some financial crunches and all in that startup company?
We did. There were some times when there were no revenues to pay off salaries. So managing the workforce at that time, and it was not easy. But yes, Trying times, I would say.
How was that experience? Must have.
It was crazy because, I mean, after working in Tata's for about 7 years, where salary would come exactly on the date, and here you had a situation as, how do you get money? Yeah, how do you raise funds so that you can pay salaries on time? Was trying definitely.
We've also seen, or at least non-HR people would like to believe that HR just dumps someone on them. It's just a warm body for them. I'm sure you don't agree to it, but still, for the record, let me ask you: do you agree with that?
No, I don't. I don't. When I look at my last stint in Knight Frank, when I joined, it was happening, and the attrition was pretty high in the first year. So most of the people would leave in the first year, and I when I came on board, I said this has to stop. So I made recruitment so difficult. So we ensured that there was a psychometric testing, at least 2 or 3 levels of interview, and the business head, he realized that he cannot just take people and throw them out. He better do a very good job of hiring. Otherwise, he's not getting the guy. So when recruitment was, a lot of filters were put, and we ensured we got the right guy, and the right guy performed. So I would say HR cannot just cannot. It would be murderous to actually just dump people. It is absolutely wrong. It's a no. One needs to be very, very careful when you hire. Even if there is even one wrong hire, it can hurt the company in a big way.
Yeah, I'm sure of that, and that's why the non-HR people feel that there's a warm body getting dumped on them. But I'm glad you clarified things like that. Coming to the main aspect of anyone doing business, which is customers, do you think HR plays a role in customer satisfaction or customer delight?
Again, it would be industry specific, and the answer is yes, because the extent to which HR can influence the culture will vary from industry to industry. But you will treat your customer the way you have been treated. So if you are an employee, and if I were to treat you shabbily, you're not going to go happily to the customer. So very, very important that I treat you right, so that you are able to treat the others right. So the concept of internal customers and external customers, concept of working in collaboration rather than silos, these are things which one needs to work on in terms of creating a culture, a collaborative culture. One needs to know that you are not independently working somewhere. Your action is going to impact others. Once he realizes that, bring that awareness to him. There's a high possibility that there is more teamwork, and there is an attempt to satisfy the customer. So I would say we need to treat the employees right, and happy employees would mean happy customers.
How would you define happy employees? Because happiness is a state of mind. A lot of psychologists tell us. So, as an HR head, how do you look at trying to get to an happy employee?
Yeah, so now we can talk about metrics.
Okay.
so if you want to measure happiness, then you need to have tools like employee engagement surveys and find out is the graph going up or is it going down. So those are tools that one has to employ. How is your attrition? Is it going down or is it going up? That will give you you're connecting with people. So typically in this organization, I've called a bunch of guys at random into a room and I've asked them, are you guys happy to be here? And the response is that nobody ever asked us that. I said, but I would want to ask you. So just ask, connect with the people, ask them, are they happy?
Oh, and you would get an answer.
Definitely.
Well, I'm sure people listening should go to your HR and tell them whether you are happy or not, and that would really help them. Aman, other things which is part of HR function which we take for granted is training. Now, you being a trainer yourself, how do you think that has helped you in shaping up the identification of training needs for the employees and then executing it?
Sure. So what I would say is that my stint with training has helped me to first understand how would a person learn, what would make him learn, what would make him receptive to learn. So all those all those data is out here. So when somebody comes to me saying that this is a problem, I know exactly how to address it. And as I said, you can't push training. It has to be more. People have to be more receptive, and awareness is a key. Once they are aware that yes, I think I need to learn this. You've done your job. 70% of the job is done. 30% he will do it.
In your organization, I'm sure you're working hard to make people recognize that they should learn. Do you organize or facilitate their learning in-house? And do you also facilitate learning externally if you think that suits the purpose better?
Yeah. So what I have tried to do is first, I put these guys through a psychometric assessment, understand what is their bent of mind, understand where the gaps are, and I have at least an hour session with each of these guys, and wherein they own up that this is my area of improvement. Then they craft their development plan, and once that is done, then we sign off saying that okay. So it could be reading a book, it could be taking a project, it could be it could be an internal training, it could be an external training, it could be anything, and people learn differently. Maybe it's a video that you need to watch, So whatever it is, so we work that out, and then we have a sign off, and then the onus is on the person. We will create a learning environment by saying okay, these are the courses we can organize, and then they sign up for that. So that's the route that I've taken. Yes, internal training is also very useful. I know that typically people feel that internal guys may not be all that great, but I think there are some fantastic talented guys within the organization. You can have a business head coming up and explaining some certain maybe his process which others can learn from.
Okay, so you're following the old adage, take the horse to the well and then he has to drink himself.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can't drink for him.
Yeah. Hope he drinks.
And hope he drinks. But in your experience, do people acknowledge that they have a training need themselves?
Initially, no, but as I said, if your approach is scientific, and this tool which I use is pretty powerful, and it hits bang on the head, and it is a psychometric. If I have to explain it, is about maybe 200 questions which the person himself has answered, and it is a tested tool.
Can you elaborate that tool a little bit for people to understand?
So 16PF or Thomas profiling. So there are various such tools. So you take any one of them, and which is more relevant to you, and then implement it.
Okay, that's good.